Welcome to Linux by Experience. My name is Sean, your host for today's episode. Today we'll be learning about what hackers do when they confiscate your system. So I have a honeypot running that caught a hacker trying to exploit it, and we're going to go through basically what the hacker is trying to get at. So let's begin. First, let's start off with our temp directory. This is a virtual machine. Nothing there. And then a dump test. So we're going to download this file. It's from somewhere in Russia. We can verify that by using GeoIP lookup. And it's in the Federation of Russia. Russia Federation. Okay, so let's take a look at what the contents of this file is. And as you can see, it basically goes to the temp directory, goes to the run directory, moves everything in the var run directory, downloads a file, an executable based on what architecture you have. Well, it actually downloads them all, then tries to run them all, and whatever it catches, it catches. And so this is basically Raspberry Pis, your different type of Raspberry Pi clones. These are different, also the same kind of thing, Raspberry Pi clones, MIPS, firewalls, routers, typical 686 machines, Spark, which can be any Power PC, PlayStation 3, different type of architecture. I'm not quite sure what RSH4 is. RX64 would be x86 or 64-bit, and Power PC. Well, this will be your Sun workstations. Sorry. Anyways, so this will just go ahead and download all of them and start running them until it finds one that actually runs based on the architecture, and then execute it and exploit your machine. So since this is a virtual machine running 64-bit Linux, let's just download this. Download the binary. Let's take a look what the binary is. So we use a command called strings, and we pipe it through less. So this is all nonsense. Okay, so as you can see, there's an IP address that we just connected to. There's a port number it runs, root, admin, username. These are different types of passwords that it will try to use for brute force. There's a password generator. Checks for, then it starts running these executables, which would be a shell script. And then it'll see what's in the, it wants to look at the CPU information, runs something called ping, login and password. And then here you can see that it's running, here's the command line that it runs. And it'll say fail to open sockets. So basically the command line, when it runs, it opens, it'll cd into the change directory to the temp directory, change directory to the run directory, download the file, RSH that we just previously saw, execute, run it, then remove itself, then go to the TFTP and download this file. Then it'll start running that, then it'll go into the TFTP again, get the second file, runs that again, and it keeps on doing that as a loop, and then it exits. You should download one of these just for fun. And then it goes through different things called a scanner, which does GeoIP already lookups. It does an IP lookup to see where things are going. We run something called junk flood. There's the Google's DNS, which then runs a procnet route, does router builds, so it runs something called a pussy destroyer version 911. Cron D runs it as a cron job. Fork failed. Then close my server, then runs all this GNU stuff, which I don't know, GCC stuff. Then it runs these different, oh look at that. So what these are, it runs all these different, when it runs, it'll open up all these dot directories, or dot files, which are hidden files, so we'll have a look at those. And then different C codes, or C stuff. And I think we just saw all the good and interesting things. So let's see what happens when we run this. Well, we can just install. We'll help the hackers out a little bit. Thought I just said go get it. Let's scroll back up again. We didn't read that correctly. No, that's correct. That's okay. Ah, there we go. That's the command I was expecting. Interesting. Doesn't work correctly. Alright, well, let's just run the script to see what happens. Let's make it first. Let's make it executable. And then let's run. Oh, there it goes. Build Pussy's Destroyer. Version 9.11. Then it starts running this scanner, which will go out and try to first go out and get the TFTP stuff, some file. Let's go over to our another window. Let's go to temp. See if it created. Oh, look at that! It created all these hidden files. Let's go. What's in here? Nothing. Okay, well, this is doing this. Let's run T-Shark, which is a port sniffer, and see what interesting things it's doing. So T-Shark -F for filter, host, and we go to get the IP address. Oh, there we go. Now it's running a scanner execution program. It will take the IP address. Oops, a little bit of a lag there because it's running its script. Put it in verbose mode, and let's just capture it, redirect the output to T-Shark dump. Let's see how many packets it captures. So while this is doing this, let's have a look over here. So for some reason they didn't code their stuff very well, and their standard error is going to the wrong. It should be going to the dove null, but that's okay. So we got, let's go to 500 packets. Getting there pretty quick. Okay, and let's stop. And let's see if there's any hidden files created. Not yet. So by the way, let's see if there's a process ID for this yet. And there it is. So it's hidden. So let's keep that in mind. 2500 is the process ID. Copy that for later. Now let's look inside this dump file. So everything will be in here in nice and plain text because they don't do anything to hide themselves very well. So let's see if we can find a word password. No pattern yet. It all depends. When I did this earlier, I was able to capture their password files, but it was just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just executing different brute force mechanisms. So as as you can see, it's not much interesting traffic. I should have let it run a little bit longer, but it's a bit boring to watch it accumulate. So this is all coming from Russia. Yeah, the script hasn't executed all the telnet stuff yet. So usually what they do is they run a telnet script, and that turns around and does another brute force, and then they try to chain link these things called a botnet. So while this is doing its thing, let's do another redirect. Let's put that in the background process. Oh, still going to do that. Oops, wrong process. There we go, we eventually killed it. Oh. There we go. What a pain in the ass. Okay, so don't redirect it like that. Anyways, let's see if we can if they have a password here. No. Unfortunately not. But anyways, let's go to the proc file system. And let's look at that. Look for that PID again. There it is. 2500. So you'll CD 2500 because everything in here has a PID. And there we go. So we can see via command line, or this command line. See what command line was executed, so it's just some cron. And then we can see what's running as its current executable. Okay, so now it's running all these different commands. So it does a dubget, which is basically what we saw in the script. This is the script that's running as an executable, so we can see the actual executable. There we go. This is what we saw earlier. So there you go, geo. Once again, it's in Russia. Then we can do things like dig, see where the IP address actually comes from. Alright, now let's look up to be a bit better. Doesn't have a reverse IP. Interesting. Okay, so what we can do now there's an input-output error. Looks like there's some kind of errors with their script. Okay, let's see. That's that. See if we can listen to them talking yet. Not yet. So at this point, it takes a lot more time for for their executions or for the script that they're running to execute. I can see what it's doing, but they hide it quite well. You can see what it is through the proc file system and basically what it's running in memory, which is what there. That's the status of the. So it's in a sleeping state. So that's why it's not doing much. So it looks like their script doesn't work correctly, or their new build failed. I used their previous build for testing, and it worked just fine. And you can see that it makes all these telnet connections and more brute force cracking. And I would be able to see it through netstat. But netstat's not showing anything tonight. So anyways, maybe I'll show you another time. But that's basically what hackers do. So they brute force crack into your machine. They run a bunch of they run a script. The script goes hides itself, buries itself inside the system, and then turns around and does telnet sessions and uses your bandwidth to connect to other machines that infect that with another botnet application, and then they're able to use these botnets for DDoS attacks and other stuffs. That's basically what a hacker really wants. That yes, they may want your information and data and blah blah blah, but usually they want your resources from your computer, and this is one of the ways they do it. So I hope this has been educational. All the stuff they read on the news and is media, they have no clue what they're talking about. They don't go into depth like this. And I would go into more details, but I don't have enough data accumulated. So I'll see what I can do, and we'll continue this another day. Stay tuned to more Linux lessons. Next, we'll do maybe some